Speaking of turkeys, we are not going to be talking about any turkeys on this episode. Only the best of the best. We are closing out the month of November strong, and we are doing something that is one of my favorite activities to engage. Like genuine, like as much as I am very honestly not the biggest power rankings guy, as much as I am not the biggest guy as far as talking about like off the court nonsense, I love discussing how the seasons that players are having, and specifically in the context of All NBA. And I'll just preface this by saying, as someone who spent way too many hours poring over names throughout NBA history to make a top 75 list, like All NBA matters to me. So our discussion today is we're actually going to make the 3 All NBA teams through a fifth of the season, I guess now, right? Because 18 games, fifth of the season. I can't emphasize this enough. I know this is a media voted award, and that's not the be all end all, and narratives come into play and whatnot. I personally think that All NBA is the single best. If you have to look at one thing and one thing only to be like, what does this player do over the course of his career? I think All NBA matters a lot. So I'm looking forward to today's discussion.
I also think it matters a lot. And I do think some context matters in saying, because I know we've both referred to the All NBA as like, you were one of the 15 best players in the league at the time. And I don't think All NBA tells that. I think it says you were one of the 6 best at your position. You're one of the 3 best if you're a center. So as a result, it's some hinting at some quibbling has to be done with it. Like if you were a guard or a forward in a stacked year, like Chris Webber only made a couple All NBA teams because
one first. Yeah.
So he played in the era of Dirk and Duncan and Garnett and some of the like Malone toward the end and like some of the all time greats. And then LeBron James showed up and, you know, that kept limiting the spots. So some context, but I think, and my research today showed that too. I think if you're good enough, if you're able to separate yourself, that you're in the conversation anyway. Like, I don't know about you, but I wrote my first team down with no need for research pretty easily.
We'll get there in a second.
This could be interesting. Okay.
No, I do want to say though, that like to your point is a very good one. And then to just add on to that, because you made the point about the positional issues. There's also just like the reality of like, so Julius Randle was a second team All NBA forward last year. At no point in time last season or ever in his life was Julius Randle one of the 10 best players in the NBA, even though on paper he was last season. There were circumstances which resulted in him being named on that because he had one of the 10 best seasons last season. Mm-hmm. He was not one of the, like Kevin Durant didn't make an All NBA team. Like Kevin Durant didn't magically become worse than Julius Randle. It is a snapshot in time. But I think, again, if we're looking back at NBA history years later, those snapshots matter, you know? And as much as we may quibble, to use a Mr. Ozarowski word, shout out final review. As much as we may quibble with some of the selections over the years, I think by and large, you look back and you're like, yeah, that pretty much checks out. So, you know,
specifically the ones that are consecutive, like Julius Randle being second All NBA. I'm not going to preach gloom and doom, but that might be the only time he makes second team All NBA in his career. But like the guys that had 7 straight years of first or second team, those are the guys that separate themselves. And as you mentioned, in looking back through history, they show up on paper. Yes.
Very well said. Okay. Shall we get into it?
Let's get into it. So did you just make 3 teams?
I actually am going to be working my way through this exercise live. I have about 25 names that I think are worthy of at least discussing. Okay. And I have a pretty good idea where I want to spot them. But so getting into the first team. So it's funny that you say you wrote your names down pretty fast. I was going to say, let's start with our All-NBA first team, AKA who's the second guard, because I actually think the first 4 are easy. And I think there's a bit of a discussion about the second guard spot.
So that's a good point, because that's the one spot where I was like, who's the second guard? But this is where, is he a guard? Is he a forward comes into play?
Okay. So let's, how do we want to do this? You want to?
So I'll just quickly say the way I did mine, and this is how I usually track it every year, is it's similar to how I track the Oscars, is that I don't just write down my 5 for the Oscars, like for five best actors that I think will be. I go all the way to 10 and try to do it. So I made a first, second, third, and then a fourth and a fifth team. So if if you want to start at guard and do the first team, well, can we get the 4 easy ones out the way real quick? No, say the 4 big ones.
Okay. So Steph Curry
at first guard. Yes.
You're no disagreement. Okay.
No disagreement. Then the 2 forwards.
Kevin Durant.
Uh-huh.
And actually now I'm wondering, I have Giannis. Oh, I didn't. Okay. Because there's another guy who's having a very wonderful season and is a forward.
And he's the second team all NBA first. Yeah. Giannis is averaging 28, 12, 6 and 2 on 50% shooting. Like,
let's just say it. Giannis is putting up Obi Toppin numbers. Like if he's not NBA first team, I don't know.
Listen, Obi's shooting better. Here? Obi's shooting better from 3 of late. So actually, that's insulting to Obi to even put Giannis in the same.
He also has a better field goal percentage than Giannis.
Yes. So in fact, why haven't we said Obi's name yet? If
I don't, when will the disrespect stop? We should also just we kind of rattled off Kevin Durant's name because it's that easy. Mm-hmm. Again, 56% from the field, 42% from 3, 86% from the free throw line. I mean, if he hits a few more free throws, 50, 40, 55. I don't think anyone's ever had a 55, 40, 90 season. And he's not the only one who's in the running for that. And then who do we not say? Jokic, right?
Jokic and Steph. Just literally watch your Twitter timeline every night that he plays. I think he's got 6 games this year where he's hit 9 threes. He's the MVP frontrunner right now, and the Warriors have the best record in the NBA. And Jokic, the reigning MVP, is averaging, I had him before. He's averaging 26, 13, and 6 on 59% from the field and 41% from 3.
It's absurd. And yes. I think he missed last night. We're again recording this on Thanksgiving Eve. He missed the Portland game. You have not yet read the best Steph Curry stat.
What is the best Steph Curry stat?
So while Steph Curry has been on the basketball court playing basketball for the Golden State Warriors, they have outscored their opponents by 224 points. The next highest player on that list is Giannis Antetokounmpo at plus 142. So he is a full 82 points behind Steph Curry. That is pretty freaking ridiculous.
I'm actually kind of amazed Steph's odds aren't more of a runaway. I mean, the only way that he loses right now is if he gets hurt. Yeah. The Steph Curry, he's having yet another unreal season. And I mean, you said it last night on the post game. It was in reference to something else that like Steph, there's a reason Steph Curry is going to go down as one of the 10 best ever. He's having another one of these seasons. And if he gets to another finals and finally wins that finals MVP, the narrative that was around him that didn't do it on his own officially goes away. Yep. And you're putting him in the conversation of Tim Duncan, which is absurd to think about.
Oh boy. Some names.
Whole other pod, but realize Duncan has 5 championships, 3 of which he was the best player for. Well, 4 of which he was the best player for. Steph, he will now have 4 championships in which he was 1 or 1A. So there's a conversation there. And 2 MVPs and all these all NBAs,
And we should just to give them their credit. Like I said, Giannis was second on the plus minus list. Mm-hmm. Nikola Jokic is 11th, plus 120. Durant's a little bit further down the list. Okay. Who's your other guard?
So I went back and forth because you can list some guys as forwards or guards, and I don't want to push some guys into the down into third team on forwards. So I have Jimmy Butler as my second guard. Okay. He's a small forward though. That's the problem. Paul George can be listed as a guard, but he's a small forward. So the the other option I have is Ja Morant, and I don't necessarily want to. I don't want to reward him for that high to be like first team All NBA. But this is where I either do some chicanery with guys that are small forwards / guards that are eligible at both positions, or I honor the exercise. Now, who's the guy that you were thinking of that goes on second team?
So
goes your second guard. I should say. Second
guard. I have 4 names in consideration. The 3 you said, and then one more. I just want to say, I have one more I forgot to mention, but go ahead. I think you're about to. Although I think you're about to say Zach LaVine. That's the other guy. Right team, wrong guy.
DeRozan's a small forward.
I look at DeRozan. I mean, yes, okay, technically. But okay, take a step back. Yes, on that team, he plays small forward. On that team, Lonzo Ball is the starting guard, and LaVine, Zach LaVine is the starting shooting guard. If you are going to look me in the eye and say that you will consider Jimmy Butler and Paul George as forwards, I don't know how you can't look at a guy who is, smaller and plays more of a perimeter game and at least consider him in the same way.
So as guards.
There
will be a theme with my list in rewarding the teams that are at the top of the league right now, specifically at the top of the East. That's more of a rewarding of the Miami Heat and how Jimmy's shooting over 50% from the field and like not taking any threes, and that team is rolling. So I have him as my first team All NBA. My second team, first guard and first forward, are DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. So that's how I reward the Bulls, is that they get right there. Now, look, we're splitting hairs. I think if you wanted to put DeMar DeRozan as your first guard, you can, and then Jimmy and LaVine take up your first 2 small forward spots. So forward spots on your second team.
Here's the thing for me, like, just so everybody's clear, the NBA laid its whole bare ass out there with this last season when they were like, oh, you want to put Joel Embiid at forward? That's fine. You want to put Nikola Jokic at forward?
Yeah.
It got to the point of like silliness where they basically said all of these random players, or not random play, all of these players who like clearly are one position could be multiple. So like, yeah, you could shoehorn in Jimmy Butler at guard. I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of an honor system to this. That said, I think it has. Oh gosh,
what's up?
No, I think you're right. I think it has, because Jimmy Butler is having a better season than Ja Morant, and I think it is more appropriate to reward Jimmy Butler. And then if the decision is between Jimmy Butler and DeMar DeRozan, I mean, the thing about DeMar DeRozan, again, going back to like, if you want to do like traditional counting stats, the dude is 6th in the league in scoring. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's actually shooting pretty decent from 3 for him, 35.6%, shooting almost 90% from the line, 4 assists, 5 boards. I mean, like, he has everything. His team is awesome. And
also, how much do you care about the position estimate as a judge for what you play during the season on Basketball Reference?
Well, that's the thing. I looked up for Jimmy, and Jimmy's has nothing for guard.
So that's why I when I went down the list of like, do I go Jimmy? Do I go DeRozan? Do I go Paul George? Do I go LaVine?
Here's the thing. DeMar DeRozan, like Alex Caruso, as we saw when the Bulls played the Knicks the other night, like Alex Caruso is much more of a forward on that team than DeMar DeRozan. Alex Caruso is the guy guarding the bigger dudes. Like DeMar DeRozan, they're trying to hide him, on like the less threatening perimeter player.
He's also at 0% on guards, though. That's the thing. He's at 13% for small forward, and for some reason, 71% at power forward.
But then again, Paul George doesn't play any guard. Like, none of these guys have actually like are listed as guard. I just want to say one real quick thing on DeRozan. Again, in that plus minus with Curry 1, Antetokounmpo 2, and Nikola Jokic 11. DeMar DeRozan's 7th on that list. He's when the Bulls have him on the floor, they're plus 124. If you go by cleaning the glasses metric, which measures kind of the same thing. I mean, his usage rate is off the charts. His usage rate, when considering his points per shot attempt, ridiculous. Like, the dude is just and I don't mean to like poo-poo the season that Zach LaVine is having, and I guess maybe it's a little bit because DeMar's the new guy, and now the Bulls are winning. And I know it's not just DeMar. I know Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso have a lot to do with that. And like they, okay.
So who are you going with your second guard? Gun to your head, officially.
I'll go Butler.
Okay, so we're both got Jimmy Butler as a second guard.
I don't like it though. But at the same time, like I don't. It doesn't feel right to reward Morant with a first team All NBA.
The only other thing I could think of is LaVine, bumping him up to first, which I don't like either. But he would be on my second team, so it's just